The images from Africa, they've been dominating our televisions and captivating us for the past week, namely the developments in Egypt. But they're at the same time both heart-wrenching and promising, right? On the one hand, you're seeing turmoil, violence, and instability as the established structure of a nation is literally becoming undone before our very eyes. And with this, of course, comes death and suffering. But on the other hand, we're witnessing dramatic examples of hope and change. These are themes that are real close to our hearts and minds here in America not so long ago. Now, Tom, I heard you reading some text the other day, and folks were saying that, well, they essentially were saying that they were tired of hearing about Egypt and what's going on over there because it really doesn't affect them here. And I know that it's sometimes easy for us over here to dismiss events that are happening on a whole other side of the world as not being relevant to us. But you see, that would be a mistake. That would be a big mistake because the country of Egypt is very, very relevant to us in a number of compelling ways. First, before countless foreign invasions of Greeks, of Arabs, of Romans, and others, the land we now know and call by its Greek name, Egypt, was known by its African name, Kemet, which translates into the land of the black. And to clarify, when people are referring to ancient Egypt and its great and pioneering accomplishments of civilization, they're speaking of the times when the land was called Kemet. We're talking about the Old Kingdom, known as the Pyramid Building Age, the Middle Kingdom, known as the Literary Age, the New Kingdom, known as the Imperial and Temple Building Age, and the Late Period, known as the Revival Age. These four classic ages, which we now refer to as ancient Egypt, all happened well before, let me say that again, well before the Greek invasion, and were produced and dominated, of course, by black Africans. Now, Sybil, no matter how hard that some folks have tried to claim otherwise, there just are mountains of evidence, ranging from the literal eyewitness accounts of the Greeks themselves to the anthropological, archaeological, literary, scientific, linguistic, and cultural evidence that support this basic and fundamental fact. The world's greatest scientists and mathematicians, like Imhotep, were black Africans from Kemet. Also from Kemet, or ancient Egypt, the great Akhenaten. He first introduced the idea of monotheism, one God, not many gods, to the world. So my point here is that knowing about the ancient past of the land we now call Egypt is certainly relevant here in Black History Month, especially since, as they say, to know where you are going in life as a people, you have to first know where you've been. Indeed, even the Anwar Sadat, former president of Egypt, often remarked about how proud he was of his African ancestors who have built the pyramids. And even with all the modern science we have today, we still can't quite figure out how those black Africans built those magnificent structures. Now, second, Egypt affects all of us as Americans. It has a huge geopolitical significance linked with the all-important Suez Canal, a critical highway for world trade. From a political and a strategic standpoint, well, Egypt is certainly the prize, as they say. So what affects the world happens in Egypt. And given that, its business there affects our business here. But Tom, it's really more than just that. Because finally, as humans, as human beings, we should care about people suffering and sacrificing and speaking out wherever they may live. We should be inspired by the fact that everyday people of all ages and all backgrounds, well, they're standing up, they're overcoming their fears, and they're risking their very lives to better their lives, their communities, their nation. And after all, it wasn't so long ago that we as a community here were in the streets of this very nation demanding the same thing. And as Martin Luther King reminded us, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So let's just keep abreast of what's going on in the world around us, because it ultimately does affect us. It affects our history, our struggles, our politics. Now, I'm going to leave you with a quote from Albert Einstein today that could apply to the situation in Egypt today and to its non-democratic leadership, to the plight of the protesters raising their voices in the country's street, and ultimately to our responsibilities as citizens of this world. The world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it. Until next time, this is Stephanie, in love and hope. Thanks, guys.
It's time for the